Preyen Dewani's brother says South Africa is a country where influence and money rule the day. He also claims the police tried to protect the tourism sector by framing his brother Shrien for murder. These comments are contained in the transcript of a meeting between the Dewani and the Hindocha families. Leanne Jansen is keeping an eye on the story for us and joins us now. Leanne, good evening to you. What's the context of this recording between both families?
Good evening, Iman. Well, this meeting was held between the Hindocha and Dewani families shortly after Anni Dewani was laid to rest. The meeting was held in the UK at the home of the Dewanis, and it was between Shrien Dewani, his brother Preyen, Anni Dewani's parents Vinod and Neelam Hindocha, and Anni Dewani's cousin Sneha Mashru. Now, Sneha made a recording of this meeting that had taken place. It was a secret recording, and that meeting was then transcribed. Now, 16 pages were handed in as evidence in court and led as evidence. It turns out the document is actually 50 pages long. So that is the context of this meeting. It was to flesh out exactly what happened and for the two families to meet, to chat about exactly the events that went down in Cape Town and the events leading up to and following Anni Dewani's death.
So Preyen, Shrien's brother, makes a number of assertions in this conversation, and he's also very vocal in defense of his brother.
Preyen Dewani is very vocal in this transcript. He's adamant that the both families, the Hindochas and the Dewanis, need to stick together, and that the media is going to try and break them apart by publishing defamatory statements and articles about the families, etc. He also goes on to say, and that is what you read earlier, he insinuates that the South African police service is trying to pin the crime on his brother Shrien to mask the fact that South Africa is a crime-ridden country and to protect the tourism industry here. And part of what he said, I'll read it to you. He says, "We are not dealing with anything normal here. We are dealing with South Africa. This is not Sweden or the UK, where you have a robust police and court system. This is," and then he uses a derogatory term for black people. You stayed in that country. Whatever you want to do, you can get it done there if you have the right influence and money and everything. That's a strong assertion on Preyen Dewani's part in this recorded interview.
Leanne, how is it likely to impact, this document impact court proceedings where they stand right now?
Well, we haven't received any word from the National Prosecuting Authority yet. I'm awaiting some comment from them sometime in the morning. But it's unlikely that this document could affect the trial as it stands. The state has already closed its case. On Monday, Judge Jeanette Reverser will hand down her ruling on whether or not to acquit Shrien Dewani. So if she does not acquit him and the trial goes ahead, I presume the state could then use this in its cross-examination of the defense's witnesses. But the state will then have to reopen its case if it wants to present any more evidence in this document. It's also unclear why the document was edited from 50 pages to just 16, and whether the state felt that whatever else was contained in here was immaterial evidence.
There's palpable tension, Leanne. We've seen it on the courtroom steps between these families. Walk us through how the relationship has evolved from two clans joining hands in a joyful occasion to being rent asunder by tragedy and the deep suspicions that the Hindochas have of Shrien Dewani himself.
It seems from reading this document that there was initial suspicion on the part of the Hindocha family. Anni's father, Vinod Hindocha, asks Shrien several questions, and so does Anni's mother, Neelam. She asks Shrien, for instance, if the car was moving when the hitmen had thrown him out of the back passenger window. And he says that the car was moving slightly, it wasn't moving too fast, and that he injured himself somehow. He hurt his shoulder and he knocked his head, and his clothes were a bit dirty because he landed on sand. But there are also visible tensions between the families. If you read this transcript, Vinod Hindocha raises some concerns about Anni Dewani's funeral and the manner in which Shrien had conducted himself. He tells Shrien that he was scared of him that day, and that Shrien Dewani had given him a look of death as though he was going to kill him. Shrien apologizes for this in the transcript, saying that he was stressed out and angry, thinking that the family had gone ahead with the ceremony, the burial ceremony, without him. So, yeah, there are tensions still today during the trial. There is no interaction between the two families. The Hindocha and Dewani families are separated by the dock. Shrien Dewani is situated in the middle of both families.
So this news conference is going ahead tomorrow, Leanne. What are we likely to see?
Yeah, the Hindocha family have scheduled a press conference for tomorrow. I know that Anni Dewani's younger brother Anish, will be addressing the media. It's unclear exactly what the basis of the press conference will be. But if we look at the way things are standing at the moment, I presume that it would be a call for Shrien Dewani to take the stand and tell his side of the story, given the fact that there is a possibility that he could be acquitted and leave South Africa as a free man next week, because he cannot be retried and the state cannot appeal the Section 174 application.
That's where we leave it. Leanne Jansen with the very latest for us on the honeymoon murder case. Thanks, Leanne.